Neville has strengthened to a powerful Category 4 storm with maximum sustained winds right now of 130 miles per hour, gusts of 160 miles per hour, and a central pressure of 948 millibars. The storm peaking intensity right now in the Indian Ocean is still headed in the middle of nowhere, but as you can see on satellite imagery, the storm looking very impressive with an obvious eye. Not exactly a deep eye, but it is definitely there. It is definitely obvious, and it is definitely well defined to a degree. Storm also does remain very compact. It's only a couple hundred miles across, say 250, 300 miles across, if even that, right now. I'd say probably 250, 275 miles across right now. If I'm incorrect, feel free. If you think I'm incorrect, feel free to drop it down below, and I will examine. I will use some of my technology to calculate the exact width of the storm for you, so I can give you that information if you're interested in having it. We're going to need to get a look at the infrared imagery of the storm right now. Here is the storm. Very impressive, obvious eye wall structure. Very impressive indeed. The northern side of the storm is showing the greatest convection, the deepest convection, with cloud top temperatures reaching negative 70, maybe negative 75 degrees, in a few areas on the northern eye wall of the storm right now. So some very impressive cloud tops. Those cloud tops have diminished in height and have the cloud tops have diminished in height though, and have increased slightly in temperature over the past several hours. As you can see, there's less of those white colors in the latest frames. But we're watching the storm. It is peaking. It's a very impressive storm right now indeed. So let's get a look at exactly where this thing's going to be headed. As you can quite clearly see, the storm will weaken from here and drop south rapidly, falling apart in the subtropics of the Indian Ocean. And then again, I've stated before, that second cyclone near Madagascar looks like could likely be a pretty powerful storm indeed, possibly a Category 4 over there too. Moving through the Masserine Islands. Same thing that they said yesterday, really. So, excuse me, stuffy nose. So it seems like the similar forecast of yesterday still seems to be sticking with that storm. And that one could be pretty powerful indeed. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. And then after that, there's not really anything happening. We haven't had that many cyclones this year in the Indian Ocean and the Southern Hemisphere seasons, but we've had a lot of powerful storms. So that's going to be the highlight. That's what's going to be most remembered about this system. How many major storms there were? There were quite a few. A majority of the storms were major storms compared to compared to the number of minor storms. There were more majors than there were minors in the Southern Hemisphere this year, which is very interesting. The winds are blowing like crazy now outside. We've been having some gusts 35, 40 miles per hour. It looks like they might actually be going over that now. It's roaring. It's literally blowing the house a little bit. Okay, so here we are right now taking a look at wind shear values. As quite clearly as obvious as it is just looking at the storm itself, the wind shear values are very low right now, 10 to 15 knots. It might start moving into a bit of elevated wind shear over time soon. Crosses this line and gets closer to some neutral wind shear here. But as the storm continues to head west and then turn toward the south, it will run into some of this higher wind shear, which in a few places 25, 30 knots soon ahead, and then it increases to 50 in toward the position where the storm will probably be in a couple of days or so. So wind shear will be on the increase over a couple of days from now. But for right now, the storm remains in very favorable conditions. Sea surface temperatures near storms area right around here are around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius right now, so they are a little bit lower, but 27 to 28 degrees Celsius right now shows the storm still does have the sea surface temperatures to sustain a Category 4 storm for a brief period. I expect that the storm will probably begin weakening very shortly. The storm is, by the way, a Category 4 both on the Southern Hemisphere scale, and is also a Category 4 hurricane equivalent as well. So if this was happening in the Atlantic or the Eastern Pacific, it would also be a Category 4 hurricane as well. So just throwing that out there. This storm has intensified substantially. Headed toward sea surface temperature anomalies. You can quite clearly see if I can actually, there we go, zoom out. Areas in the storm's current location, there are patches of above average and then below average scattered about. So it's a mixture of both right now in the area near the storm. It looks like right now the storm is probably near just barely above average water temperatures right now. And as you can see, these blue pockets here off the west coast of South America, that is our La Nina. That is our La Nina still forming. We are going to be having a La Nina this year for the Northern Hemisphere's hurricane season, which means the Atlantic Basin, much of it, the Caribbean toward the East Coast and up toward the Gulf Coast, and then up the East Coast of the United States as well, will see more frequent hurricane activity. Will likely see more frequent hurricane activity, more active season as well, potentially above average again. And the areas of the Eastern Pacific and then toward the Western Pacific and Central as well will see a decline. More wind shear will suppress extreme hurricane activity, so we will likely see less substantial storms in the Pacific Ocean this year. The El Nino, though, parts of the El Nino in the Central Pacific are still fighting. There still is a very weak El Nino here. It is still fighting, but it is dying. This La Nina is forming. You can see it. This is going to soon start blasting across the ocean here, and we're going to see a big pool of blue. So that's all I've got for you guys now. We're going to log out here, over and out, and we'll probably have another update on the storm a couple of days from now. Good night.